Thank you everyone for staying with us. I really hope everyone enjoyed this film. We are honored to have the filmmaker Kyoka Tsukamoto with us. Thank you, Kyoka, for joining us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And My Dearest Sister is your self-journey to Japan to reconnect with your sister and also your past. But there should be a self-discovery before that, where you personally felt the need of making this film. And somewhere you mentioned that you started to write it back in 2010, which means that even before the start of the Me Too movement. So could you please tell us where the idea of My Dearest Sister came from and what's happened over the years?
In 2010, yes, I wrote a 2-page monologue, which entitled My Dearest Sister. And I thought it would be a short experimental film. And I wanted to make a kind of surreal film about, in my dream, I had often a dream about trains connecting the stations of Tokyo and Montreal. So I wanted to create in my mind how the East and the West meet. And then in 2012, I received a grant to make this film. And every time I add something about my story, personal story about my sister, the sisters, people would be more interested in than other motifs that I wanted to pursue. So it was not necessarily my own need of talking about what happened, but it was almost gradual need of working with my co-writer. Also gave me that kind of direction of what is actually the core story without me not necessarily wanting to tell. Is that the answering question?
Great, amazing. So you mean that your story, if I'm not mistaken, the concept from the beginning was the same, but over the years, it's changed, and you and your co-writer try to add, some layers and some notes to it. Is that?
I wanted to make about the Japanese spirituality versus Western individual. I can't just say it. Okay. Originally, I wanted. Okay, I will start it again. Okay. Individual.
Your self journey.
Yeah, self journey.
Your personal story.
Individuation. Is it?
You mean your personal story?
Yeah. So, okay, I will say it differently. Okay, originally I wanted to talk about Japanese spirituality versus Western way of thinking about self-expression, inspired by Jungian psychology. And at the time, there was a book called The Red Book, was published. It was kept in a library for many years, and at the time was new for people to able to read the book. And that was such an inspiration. So I was going more into that kind of conceptual thing about East and West meeting. And the story of the sisters were just a thread to go between those more conceptual ideas. And then my co-writer and my producer and everybody, my friends and family, they all go, but that's not interesting. What is interesting is your story, your sister's story. And okay, so I add some more details about what happened, and every time I add something, personal memories, they go, oh, that's the key of the story. That's how and the story developed. So it was almost like not my need of expressing what had happened, but it was almost like a natural flow of what had to be said. And by doing so, it became more clear to me. It is maybe more important, especially when I started to play the piano after 30 years of break. It came to me so clear that it was very necessary journey, the personal journey through the filmmaking, to clear the path, to be able to really authentically express. So I'm getting very long in that answer.
No, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Great, amazing. And actually, you answered my second question. I wanted to ask, actually, your film is multi-layered, and I don't even know if I can distinguish these layers properly. But on one layer, it's your story, your sisters, and also your past. And on another one, we can learn more about Japanese spiritual culture. And there is also another symbolic visual layer that connects the first two layers together and gives your film a poetic look. So could you please tell us, you said actually about, the structure, but could you please tell us where that structure came from, and how did you manage to put all these layers together? Did it happen during the writing stage, or you shot part of your film and after that you realized that you need to add another layer to your film?
Okay, 2012, I received the grant, the first grant to go to Japan to shoot. In 2014, we wanted to make it to a feature film, but it didn't work. And that's when I started to play the piano. And in 2015 and 16, finally, I got the grant to make a medium length film. It was not length. And I finished the previous film, Creation Sacrifice, which was almost the original, the experimental. Internet connection is unstable. So the Creation in Sacrifice film was more experimental, but it was almost the same content, except the story of the sisters. And 2017, I finally got the grant from Canada Council to make this medium-length film into a feature-length fiction film. So that moment, I worked a lot on writing. And after the first cut was made, it was the end of 2017. Yeah, I showed my first cut to distributor and producer, and they go, "Kyoka, you have still a lot way to go." So what happened was, for me, it was clear, okay, this chunk, the story, like I wrote in the script, here you go. And they go, no, story is not, right. It's not clear. It's like almost like you serve a French meal. You forgot what was the first appetizer kind of situation. So I had to put everything again in the pot to make it cook together, almost like that. And so end of 2017 to 18, I rewrote the entire narration. And I had a help from a script editor, Howard, Wiseman from Toronto, actually. He teaches at York University. And I met him, even I study at Ryerson, so it's a long time ago. I took a script writing class before studying university, and I remembered him that he was such a great, exceptional teacher. So I called up him on Sunday afternoon saying, hi, probably you don't remember me, but I took your script writing course long time ago, like 15 years ago. And I think you can still teach me. And we worked like a really intense brainstorming sessions a few times over the phone. And I rewrote the entire narration. And I felt actually, that's the moment I felt I start to be able to write as a writer. And I felt at the beginning, you know, you feel that the animals start to emerge, and you feel the nerve and the bone start to make us, you know, all the threads bundled together to create a, you know, animal. And then by the end of the spring, I start to feel, okay, now everything is done, but except the nails and the hairs. And I felt really the animal was created.
Amazing. So Kyoka, you grew up in Japan and now living in Montreal. And you mentioned earlier that you have tried to connect, these two different cultures, East and West, and past and present. And it's obvious in your film, and also in your other artistic works that I saw on your Instagram page, that you are using some key symbolic elements in your artistic works, such as trains and railroads, to connect these all together. Could you please tell us a little bit about your personal connection with trains and railroads?
Yes, I used to have a recurring dreams about taking trains and going to stations that I know which part of the city it's connecting in my mind, in my dream map. And I used to take the train to go to, you know, my grandmother's house in the mountain, or the college there. And I used to have that dream, and I wanted to recreate that sensation of weird, interesting atmosphere of being in a place where you don't really know how it is ends. Like when you live in Tokyo, you have such a sense that it's such a huge city that you never know, you know, you can't possibly know every corner of Tokyo. You know some parts of where you live, where you work, where you study, but you always have the sense of this feel of unknown.
Being strange.
You don't know where exactly where, you know, this, for example, you pass each stations and there are so many possibilities and places, but you will never visit. And there are many downtowns, you know, in Montreal, there's only one downtown, you know, but in Tokyo, there are few downtowns that you can choose from. You know, if you're younger, if you're more, you know, person who wants to go to dance, then you go to this part of the area. If you're older and you want to drink under the train rail, you go this area where the, you know, there's karaoke place for younger generation, or, you know, whatever. There's many downtowns, the place that you can choose from. And that's I think what I wanted to recreate originally in the experimental film. And it's funny because now I'm making a music video. I got the grant from Canada Council to make the piano actually piece to be online. And I come back with my Dearest Sister theme song, and I'm making the music video, finally the official one, with the train tracks, and again coming back with the images that I shot for the film. So there are a few images that will definitely inspire you to one direction for the creation.
Great, amazing. So has your film screened in Japan?
Not yet. Well, the film, there's going to be a festival in Germany. I can't tell yet. I cannot announce yet. We went to UK, and in Montreal, there were 2 festivals that were screened.
So, which means that none of your family members, including your sister, hasn't watched this film yet?
Yeah, they are not speaking in English. So, you know, it has to be translated to Japanese if I, want them to watch. Yeah.
Great, amazing. And I hope one day they watch this beautiful film, and they would like to know what their reaction would be. So let's talk a little bit about the score. Unlike your childhood, now you play piano very well, and the score of the film composed by yourself. So could you please tell us a little bit about what happened over the past years? That, I mean, there is, as you mentioned earlier, there is 30 years gap between this. So what's happened over the years that right now you are interested in playing piano and you are composing your film's score, and as you mentioned again, you are releasing, some soundtracks?
Yes, 2014, I restarted to play the piano by almost an accident. That year was very hard. I couldn't get the grant for making the feature-length film. And that was the moment, like, you are not sure if it is really, great film to continue working on it, because, I was working with a producer, and he tried to get the grant from many places and everything didn't work. So he will go like, oh, Kyoka, I don't know what else I can do for you. So it means that it's almost like, you're abandoned, But then I was walking down the garden, Montreal botanical garden, and there was a piano placed in the garden, and I heard the sound of a little girl playing the piano, and I just sat there to play, and I suddenly started to hear the melodies and some rhythms. And I tried to play what I hear, but of course I couldn't, but I was really stuck there to try to do something with the sound. And that was a very strange feeling, because when I was a child, I never liked play the piano, and it was an obligation. So after 30 years, you usually don't remember anything you learned as a child. And if you play the piano, you know that you can't play like that. You just have a score. You have to remember the piece, and you practice not to make mistake. That's the way I learned how to play the piano. But that was very different. The sound, the music just came through me, and I was searching what I hear in my head. I didn't know what I'm playing. I just tried to search what I hear. And that's how I composed all the music. I would record whatever it came to my mind and make probably like sections of it. And at the end, it became together for the My Dearest Sister, especially. It was composed parts by parts at a different time, and at the end it became together. There's some songs that came in one shot, like a one piece, but basically every songs I don't write with my head, I just write with my heart. I think it's the way it's going. And now it's very interesting. And for the next film, I want to make the main character to be a singer-songwriter. So for that film, I'm already starting writing music and actually start writing songs and collaborating with singers. It's gonna be another experiment or the creation to go to the different direction, not only the piano, but with words and the melody, singing.
Amazing, looking forward to it. So unfortunately, we don't have more time to continue this wonderful conversation. It was great to talk with you, Kyoka, today. And I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation and this screening as much as I did. I would also like to encourage everyone to visit our website, reelworld.ca, to learn more about our screenings and our programs during the festival and also year-round. And if you identify yourself as a racial diverse Canadian artist, please consider joining our Access Real World database. Thank you and take care.
Thank you.